But the music, like, really, yeah. And I think
Oh, one time we should be wearing smoking jackets.
I like that. Yeah, smoking jacket. Should just keep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to Back Issues. This is the second episode. We're here in scenic Funny Books, Comics, and stuff in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. Information down in the description box below. You can find out more about this great comic book retailer. Steve Conti, the creator, has been kind enough to let us kind of use it. You may be familiar with the setting based on my show, Sal Says What, which is filmed on location here as well. So, you know, we're getting as much mileage as we can out of this.
Beating a dead horse.
So we grabbed another collected volume from my private collection.
Gen13.
Gen13.
I know all of you are sighing. Just bear with us.
Or not. They
No
don't know
more
anything
than
about
I
it.
am on the inside. No, trust me. No one is a proud fan of Gen13.
Well, there might be people who have no idea what it is, like me.
Like you, that's
Yeah.
true. And Ben only has some familiarity with Gen13, as I remember.
A little bit.
What struck you about the book, and then we'll get into what it's about.
Okay. Well, first, I'll say I didn't actually read it.
No, of course.
I've just leafed through it.
Gen13. All right, this was an Image book. I always associated it as Image, but actually it's been longer as a Wildstorm book. Okay, so Image is an amazing company because it's created by these artists who have never written anything except for the books that they drew. So, like, back in the day, Todd McFarlane drew Spider-Man, and, like, it pulled in a huge number of readers, and people were just like, this is art that I've never seen before, and I want more of it. And the artists used that advantage to gain more creative control over the books they were writing. So, like, McFarlane was like, you know what, I'm actually the reason people are reading Spider-Man. You know, it's not that the character is enduring and classic and, interesting.
It's me.
It's that I'm drawing him cool.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say, the art in this book reminds me a lot of Marvel, especially the X-Men.
Well, it's actually an interesting point. You should bring that up because the artist, or rather the collection of artists of this book, because it's not just one artist. This is, by the way,
There's four names on this book.
Yes, and none of them right. So, there's actually one. I've never seen a credit like this in this book. If you look, Jeff Marriott is credited for doing
Chapter 2.
dialogue for Chapter 2.
Just Chapter 2.
Like, you can imagine that
What about dialogue for Chapter 1?
it was there, but it was...
Someone did it.
Yeah, someone else did it. I mean, you know...
Some no-name.
That's the thing, they don't care. Image is like, well, whatever, it's all about the image. It's all about what we drew.
Right.
So, like, the Founding Fathers create all these awesome things, and they use that experience to, like, leverage the bigger companies to, like, let them write. So, ultimately, Marvel gave Todd McFarlane, like, a Spider-Man book. That's where all the creators from Image kind of made their bones in writing and creating.
I'm not going to lie. Todd McFarlane pops in my head, and I just think Spawn.
Oh, yeah, well,
Spawn
Todd McFarlane
is, like, huge.
is Spawn. I mean,
And
like...
you look at some of the graphics from those books, and they are really detailed.
Listen, I own the first 90 issues of Spawn, which is like the saddest thing to ever say. But I don't know why I'm not using it for insulation in the house because it's totally worthless. But for this very 3-year window of time, those were worth a lot. Believe you me.
Right.
If I had a time machine, I could
they're
make.
going to be worth even more.
No, they will not.
Well,
Actually, they might.
They were supposed to be.
No, they might be worth more because everyone threw theirs away.
Right.
When everything became worthless.
Yeah, so if you wait another, 20 years.
Yeah, the Image creators have really very little experience writing and telling a story. So they break off from Marvel and DC and they create Image. And they're like, let's make this shared universe, but the big key factor of Image is that we all own our characters. Mm-hmm. So if we don't like what's happening with our characters, we can take them and do something else with them. But let's also make our universe interconnected, so everything hinges on each other.
Yeah, that seems like the worst idea.
Well, the first part of that idea was great. Like, I create a character and I own that character.
Yes.
Yeah. But then the fact that they all have to rely upon each other?
Yeah.
that part doesn't
seems-
follow
Oh, and
logically
it's going to be a huge
And it
problem.
fell apart almost immediately. Because their shared universe, like, for example,
Well,
Spawn...
there's no one running a ship. It's just...
Like Spawn, for example, he gets killed by his friend and partner, who is another character from a book called Youngblood, which was created and drawn by Rob Liefeld. You may have heard that name before, because he's... Okay, good. Because Rob Liefeld is fucking awful. And he's like the internet comic book whipping boy. Like, everyone loves to talk trash about Rob Liefeld. He's actually the guy who helped create Deadpool, and X-Force, and Cable, and... like, all of those ancillary X-Men characters that are so popular today, Rob Liefeld helped create. Like, he's he is deserved of some credit.
Okay.
But he created Chapel, and then Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld had a big fucking falling out, and so Rob Liefeld's like, I'm gonna take my Youngblood characters, I'm gonna go. Just like I can. Just legally, I have every precedent to do so.
Taking my toys and I'm leaving.
Yeah, and he did, literally, because Todd McFarlane then became a toy manufacturer, and then he took his toys and he, left comics entirely. So yeah, that was kind of the groundwork. Gen 13 is, the kid of that Image world. Because this is, the new guys coming in, like Jim Lee and Brandon Choi and J. Scott Campbell. All these guys are still working, and in fact, you may have heard some of their names only because, number one, 90s nostalgia, number two, actual talent. Jim Lee helped draw the first volume of Gen 13. He is now the creative director of DC Comics. He drew fucking Batman Hush and a whole bunch of Superman books. He's drawing... I think he draws Justice League right now. I could literally go... This is what's so fun about this place. I could go over there and grab it. Actually, he drew this. He draws Superman Unchained by Scott Snyder for the New 52.
That wasn't planned.
No, it wasn't. But, he's really good, as you can, tell. He knows what he's doing. I'll splash these in if I feel like it. But, it's just...
awesome.
Don't hog the art, man.
No, he knows what he's doing, man. So, anyway, he comes in and he helps them kind of, draw it up. And newcomer J. Scott Campbell also comes in, and he's the guy who, kind of takes up most of the art in this book. Brandon Choi also does a lot of, when you notice that they look totally different... There's Brandon Choi, and he does a really good job. He's actually the guy who helped create these characters in the first book. He started it off. If you look in the beginning of the book, that's Brandon Choi. This stuff.
Okay.
Man, Jim Lee is really good.
It definitely does look different.
Drawing people that want to smirk.
Oh,
Batman's smirking, Superman's smirking, this chick meeting this weird alien monkey is smirking.
That's probably Lois Lane, but yeah, nobody is happy in these books. This
No,
is New 52.
There's smiles on their face, but it's surprisingly detailed. You're getting a lot of emotion through these faces. It's a really nice job.
No, Lee knows what he's doing when it comes to expression and everything. He's a talented guy. He helped design the MMO for DC. All the characters are drawn by him.
So let me ask you this about the artist. Which one would you say is responsible for the female character's clothing being shredded?
I think that would be a joint effort.
Okay.
And I'll tell you
it
that.
Seems like a common
but you know
theme in
what?
this book.
I would say...
Look, if I had a chance, I would have voted for that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's just bizarre because it's any chance they can, shred it. It's almost like Image was formed as an excuse to draw almost naked women.
Yeah.
On books.
It's more like Gen 13 was created as an excuse to draw almost naked women.
I was going to say, does Image have any control with Witchblade?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there we go, if you want to talk about revealing women.
Oh, my God, yeah. No, Image... And the funny thing is, when I said that this was Image, kind of, when the new guys started publishing their books, like Team 7, Wildcats, Gen 13, eventually that was kind of like a core creative team. The other guys didn't really work on it. And eventually they broke off and created their own label that was an offshoot of Image. It wasn't separate, but a subsidiary of Image called Wildstorm.
Okay.
And those guys...
Was it spelled with a Y?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm amazed it wasn't. And I'm amazed that Wildstorm didn't have blood somewhere in the title as well.
Blood, Wildstorm, awesome, cool.
Wild Blood,
phase, laser.
Mondo. Yeah.
Didn't you describe before that, you really had to get past all these censors?
Yeah.
No, well,
and they obliterated it
here's the thing.
Point.
Well, it looks like that, but in Marvel and DC still adhered to what I referred to last episode as the Comics Code Authority.
Right. Which
is a group of, moms and principals who were no, maybe. Image said, nah, fuck that. No Comics Code, no ratings. So, Image didn't have any comics code, so they could show as much graphic violence, they could show sex, they could have them cursing, they could do whatever they wanted. Anything. And they were the #1 selling books at the time, so they could have done anything, and it still would have sold like gangbusters.
They were the #1 selling at the time?
Oh, yeah. Books like Spawn and Wildcats and Youngblood and shit like that.
This was the 90s.
This was the 90s.
That makes sense.
Yes, this was before everything collapsed.
Right. Well, would you say they were self-censoring maybe so that they didn't bring down the heat?
I think
they wanted
so.
To push it beyond what they could do with DC and Marvel, but they still didn't want to go
Yeah, I think honestly I feel like they wanted I think they left the big two. I think they left Marvel and DC because they wanted to do what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But I think they still wanted to be respected. Okay, let's get into what this is actually.
Yeah,
about.
what is happening in this?
Because right now we haven't even gotten into the story.
No, I don't know.
Let's do that.
About this.
Let's do the story. Story
no
for Gen 13. Right. Okay, Gen 13 is a spin-off from a book called Team 7, which I talked about earlier.
Right.
Covert bunch of badasses from like Vietnam. They were experimented on by a company because they're basically like mercs.
Okay.
And
anything for money.
Yeah, and the company that they worked for was in like the genetic engineering business, and they wanted to kind of like have their own super team. And they're like, well, these guys are super badass and cool, and they can kill people with guns and shit, but what if they have powers like Wildcats do? So they experimented on them, and they made them into like superpowered guys who like had like psychic powers and shit. And they could like shoot energy and crap. And most of them went crazy and killed themselves, and the other guys like went like off the grid and escaped from this company.
Okay.
But all of them had children, and the children are Gen 13.
I see.
See, Team 7 was part of the Gen 12 project.
Oh, so they're the children of Team 7 are Gen 13.
Exactly.
What's with all the numbers? Why is everything a number? Team 7, Gen 12, Gen 13. What? Is that just a thing?
It really is just a thing.
In comics?
It's just a thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything
really confusing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going in sequence. It's 7, 12, 13. They skipped
Right.
like 8 through 11.
Yeah, we don't have to see them.
No, who cares? Well,
but there is a direct line from Team 7.
I think there is. No, I think
12?
No, I think Team 7. Team 7 is just what they called themselves. Gen 12 was what they were referred to as when they were experimented on.
Okay.
That's really weird.
Yeah, but it's interesting because some of the guys who were on Team 7 wound up on Wildcats, like Grifter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Grifter, if you don't know, he was like if Gambit covered his whole face.
And had guns.
Yeah, and he was arguably the coolest.
They all have guns.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, but like he had laser guns.
Yeah, and Wildcats didn't all have guns. Like one of them had like blade hands. They were all Wildcats just a rip off of X-Men. Let's just go there. Now you were saying
didn't use guns, right?
What's
I
that?
don't remember X-Men ever using guns.
Well, think of Cable. Or Bishop.
Yeah, Cable and Bishop actually both used guns, but that was because they were drawn and created by Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee. So, Image characters. Everyone who was in Image had laser guns and huge weapons. This is just a staple of Image.
I don't think I've seen a mutant or anyone in these books not have a laser gun.
Yeah.
There's no regular gun.
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
Is that
the
like,
police have guns? That's it.
Is that like because they couldn't do guns before, and now they're just like guns everywhere?
Oh, no. Marvel kind of did guns. I mean, like Bishop shot up the place all the time. Domino was a big gun toter. Deadpool used guns and swords.
Bullseye.
This is just more like now we can draw the coolest gun.
Right.
Like there's
I can have a gun with like 20 different modules coming off of it and little like blips and lights
and sights for no reason.
And it shoots a laser the size of like a cannonball.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a great image somewhere in here of this girl with the green outfit, and she's holding a gun. It's like the size of her torso.
Oh, and it's like a pinup. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just flip it this way,
you'll find it.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Now, the girl in the green is Caitlin Fairchild, who is the daughter of Alex Fairchild, who is part of Team 7.
Okay.
Fairchild is the leader of Gen 13, more or less. She was originally...
She seems to be a lot in here.
Oh, yeah, she's the main character.
When they're in a group. And,
Oh, yeah. She was originally like a mild-mannered super nerd who went to Princeton, and when she became Gen Active, which is their way of saying becoming a mutant,
right?
But they couldn't say that, so these guys are Gen Actives, and they're not superheroes; they're metahumans, and they're
are they created?
Yes.
Right? Okay. Because they're part of the project.
Right. Yeah, there's no naturally... Like, they were born with powers because their parents were experimented on and given powers.
But they weren't specifically made to have powers, right?
Who, these characters?
Well, these people were born.
No, they didn't plan on them having kids and having those kids have powers. But once they found out that Team 7 had kids... They were like, let's get them, and then bring them into the company, and then use them to be our superhero team. Since Team 7 worked out so well, let's try it this way.
Now, did they have
get them when they were young.
Better powers than their parents?
I'd say yes, because, absolutely, because number one, they're more stable, and number two, they didn't kill themselves by going crazy from having them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Well, no, Team 7 did that. Look, it's been...
So you're saying they survived this book, the Gen 13? They don't kill themselves at the end.
That's correct. Okay. In fact, I think everyone survives Gen 13 in this book.
Here's the one I was talking about with the giant gun.
Oh, okay.
Because you can really tell in this image
that
it's just Like
it's impossible. That's not a gun.
It would be heavier than her.
Well, actually, she's super she's super strong, so she would be able to carry that. But I love like all the details of this gun. Like the gun is taped to have extra shit. You can tell somebody watched Aliens recently when Ripley fucking tapes the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's I think it's an old war trick from. My guess would be World War II.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm sure Jim Cameron used it. But I'm sure these guys don't know that. I'm sure that they know that it was awesome in that movie they saw.
Yeah.
Because everything in this book is awesome like that movie they saw.
They saw it in Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
When you had the fake bullets, and then they switched out for the real bullets.
Right.
With the, yeah.
Now, look at this. These are just security guards. Why do they look like that?
That's not a security guard.
They've got crazy helmets.
This is one of my favorite pages.
And shit.
One of my favorite panels in this book is when Caitlin Fairchild is looking for the infirmary because they're trying to jumpstart their powers. They're trying to get them to like become Gen active, and so like.
Oh, so they know they're going to become Gen active?
They theorize because they know who their parents are that they're going to be Gen active, but they want to try and force them to do.
Oh, that's her with the nerd glasses.
Yeah, this is before she's all like, because she's actually shorter and she's like thinner and she has like she's wimpier. And then like they upped her dosage because they weren't sure she was going to become Gen active.
Her dosage of what?
Of stuff that makes her become Gen active.
So they were already talking with the company at this point. The students.
Okay, the kids.
Well, the students, I think, are there.
The students are recruited by the company under false pretenses. Like they tell Caitlin when she's at Princeton, they're like, "Hey, you've been accepted into this really prestigious like military contract," and she's like, "Oh, terrific! Like I'll go there." And then they started basic training. But what it was
really
actually.
awkward.
Yeah, it's really weird. And, like, why would anyone do that? Especially if you have a full scholarship to Princeton and you're, like, a sophomore. Like, why would you... yeah, I think I'll go join the ROTC program rather than fucking finish Princeton.
Yeah.
And I'm also, like, 5'4" and I weigh, like, 100 pounds.
I'm sure this military thing is going to be great for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, her dad is in the military, and so, like, she wants to join it because she wants to get closer to her dad. She wants to feel, like...
Right.
And maybe find out something about where he went. Because all these kids... Number one, don't know where they came from. Number two, have no relationship with their parents. So they don't know that they have powers, they don't know that their parents are Team 7, and they don't know who their real parents are.
How does that even work? You have to have a child and then birth it, and then when it's a tiny screaming baby, you don't just be like, well, peace.
Well, maybe they killed themselves before.
Yeah, most of them did, actually. They did peace out, yeah.
Yeah, but then where...
They're orphans.
Yeah.
Where? How do they get...
They dropped... This is just... Well, this was the first issue. This was to get you to buy the book.
Oh, okay.
Don't get me to buy the book.
Right? She gets sick, and so she goes to the infirmary, and that's when her powers activate.
Okay.
But look at this security guard. Explain this fucking outfit to me. Because he's got, like, an armor... He's got armor on. Yeah. But he has, like, a wetsuit underneath that. But he's a vest over the armor. And that vest has no fewer than 2 grenades.
2 grenades... whatever those shells are...
Yeah, those are shotgun shells.
3 knives.
3 knives.
An arm cannon a la the Predator.
That's actually exactly the Predator cannon. I was just watching Predator today, and that is exactly that.
He's got hoses going into the mask. A full-face mask. We don't see any of his face.
With an X on the front.
So it's got to be some sort of gas that allows him to breathe.
Yeah, well, maybe they're tear gas.
Is this set in the future, where
this
all
is set
guards look like that?
No, this is 90's Tacular. Well, they're the company's security guards.
So at that company, that's just what security guards.
He has shoulder armor.
The funny thing is, no one actually looks
samurai.
like this one guy. Everyone else has uniform armor, but this guy, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm the security guard." He's also got a
security guard X,
and they're like, "Terry, would you please stop?"
No. I bought all this armor myself. You have to let me wear it.
You look like you raped.
I can't get another job like this. He's just some sort of pathetic LARPer.
Yeah, he's like, no.
He's like, I'm going to be the best security guard ever. I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to put guns and knives. They're like, sweet Jesus, Jerry. We just want you to guard the corridor.
Yeah, he looks like he's been doing push-ups for like 30 minutes before this happened. He's like, oh, good. He also has a lot of pouches, and that's another signature item for a 90's character.
He's also beating the fuck out of these characters.
Oh, yeah, he's just like, no, fuck you, boom. Well, it's supposed to make you hate him, so that when she becomes Gen active, right now...
And murders him.
She knocks him right the fuck out.
So anger makes her Gen active.
Well, it makes her Hulk out, and then from then on, she's Gen active. Like it's not like she
triggers it.
Yeah, it just triggers the.
There's a lot of crotch in these shots.
Oh yeah.
I felt like there are 3 crotches in this one panel.
They really like that angle.
They do. They love this angle.
One of those is man crotch.
And
I also noticed that when she becomes Gen active, she no longer needs glasses.
No, she.
Much like Peter Parker.
Well, yeah. I mean, like
spiders don't need glasses.
In the Marvel Universe, what they don't really tell you is everyone who has superpowers in the Marvel Universe has a healing factor. It means they can heal faster than normal people. And I always interpret it as Peter Parker's healing factor as a result of being Spider-Man healed his vision.
So even though our eyes can't actually repair at all.
That's right.
Right.
So, if someone gets cut and their skin heals, his heals faster.
That's right.
But where our eyes don't heal,
right, where our eyes get worse, his fix themselves.
Like I can understand the whole spider sense
because that's actually the most vexing part of his powers. Is that he has an extra sense. He can stick to walls like a spider. He has the agility of a spider, and he has the strength of a spider, and he also has extrasensory perception when danger's afoot.
Well, I always understood the spider sense to be sort of like when a spider is about to get squished.
Yeah,
it just knows that it's coming. But that's also because it sees a giant thing coming towards it.
Well, it's actually
really easy to kill a spider.
It's a play.
Well, not a radioactive spider. Have you ever tried to kill a radioactive spider?
It would probably fucking kill you.
Well, or the radiation, but not before I squash it.
I think it's a play on the fact that spiders have like eyes,
like all around
them.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't.
No, he does not.
So how does his work? I know how a spider's.
Okay.
How does he become Spider-Man?
The funny thing is,
how does Spider-Man's work if he doesn't have eyes?
The funny thing is, nobody ever asked this question until like 15, 20 years ago. And J. Michael Straczynski, who took over Amazing Spider-Man during that period, he decided to try and answer that question by saying that there's a spider god, and that he will create a Spider-Man every generation. And so his powers are the result of being the chosen Spider-Man of that generation. So, like, his powers are the result of the spider god imbuing his chosen person with the powers of the totemic god spider.
What? Wait. So the radioactive spider was a coincidence?
Or was it?
So it was divine intervention.
Spider divine intervention.
Spider divine intervention that Peter Parker was bit by a radioactive spider which gave him spider powers. And this is what...
Yeah, like...
I'm sorry, who is this person? Like, he was the writer?
Yeah, Straczynski wrote it. Yeah, he also created Babylon 5.
Okay. But he didn't... It's not like he created Spider-Man.
No.
That was Stan Lee.
Yeah, Stan Lee created Spider-Man.
Yeah. So
but
this
the
random
spider
guy.
lore is created by all the authors who follow.
Yeah, Spider-Man is created by hundreds of
It's like the Bible. It's written by all different people, but you put it together and
exactly.
It's one big truth.
That's right. Like that. So yeah, Gen13
is garbage.
Yeah, they also call it cheesecake. I call this actually that.
What is? Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
It's what they call it. I don't know.
Who's
why
that?
They call it.
Because it's delicious, but it's bad for you.
Maybe. I mean, like
it's delectable.
It's delectable.
And very rich.
Yeah, it's very rich and naughty.
And when you've had too much, you just don't feel right.
And you can have it on a stick.
The TNA in this book is. I would say it's offensive, and I wouldn't say that I'm offended because I'm not a chick. I don't care. Like I'm not Like I don't feel like I'm being objectified. Obviously,
I mean there are like lots of topless men here, as well with rippling muscles and stuff.
Oh, they deliberately do that. I think there's a character in there named Bliss, and she surrounds herself with Chippendale men.
Yeah,
because she works for the company and she has
so
money.
It's equal opportunity objectification.
I think so. I mean, it's flagrant. It's clearly biased. Leans towards men.
Yeah.
As pretty much all comics do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're getting into dicey waters there by saying that all comics kind of skew towards men, but
not all,
I would
but
be
like
lying if I said... I think I would be disingenuous if I said that comics, for the most part, didn't skew male-centric. We've come a long way.
Well, most of them are written by men, right?
Yes.
So that's
there are a fair... I will say, there are a fair amount of female creators out there who do a wonderful job, and... I don't think that there are nearly enough.
Yeah.
And for reasons that I won't get into, because it's a hot button issue.
Well, it's always been argued that men are the primary consumers of comic books.
I think that's always
it's
been
like a self-fulfilling thing.
And maybe not
Right.
even men.
Yeah.
It's boys, mostly.
Right.
Or at least it used to be.
It used to be boys,
and now it's kind of skewed that
Well,
way,
I
where it's
think
like, middle-aged.
That's probably more because
20s.
comics were always kind of culturally assumed to be for boys, just like video games were supposed to be for boys. Even though we find out with like the video game generation of people that like actually a lot of girls play video games
Because
and
herp-a-derp, fun is not
gender
based
specific.
on gender.
Yeah, exactly. But this comic is gender specific.
What else you got?
We also got Roxanne Spaulding, aka Freefall. She's the one who smokes in the book. She's got the pink hair. She is like what they think the 90s is. I really hate this turn the book sideways.
This is a pain in the ass.
Well, because there's a crease in it, and so I don't get all the art. Like if this was,
You really have to pull it
But it's
apart
so big.
for the
it
image
is
to be in
so
the center.
big, and they love that.
And you also get the real creep factor when you're reading a book, and then you suddenly go like this,
Yeah.
and people around you are like, "What's he reading?"
Well, at least it doesn't
Especially
have
when-
pages that fold out.
Right.
That would be.
But especially when, not just this page, but like the other page, when it is Fairchild, and she's like
Yeah.
super titty, and
Oh
you're
yeah,
like, what?
that's
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it does actually look like,
yeah.
yeah, like turn it
All
around.
right.
That actually we
Yeah.
can show off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, someone sees that, they're like,
What are you reading?
that certainly was a question that I got. What are you reading? It's a comic book, it's okay. There's Grunge, who's the guy that you thought he had moss on his chest.
Yeah, it looked like he had a
Yeah.
like some sort of like weird fungal growth.
It's actually just green wings.
Yeah.
He has tattoos all over.
And like there's a skull in the middle,
Yeah, he's
which
got
I
a
didn't
skull
see
tattoo
before.
in the middle. He's got a yin yang on the back, and he has the power to absorb the properties of whatever he touches. So, like, he can if he touched this, his arm would become metal,
Oh.
or if he touches rocks, it becomes rocks.
Okay.
He also has been trained to know kung fu.
Oh.
He plays kind of like a surfer beach bum, kind of like dimwit. In the Gen13 animated movie, Flea plays his voice.
There is an animated movie?
That's fantastic.
Oh, there is, and it is nothing worth watching.
I'm also going to say I see he wears bear slippers,
He does love bear slippers,
and that makes me love him just right there.
He's super cool. I actually feel like if you ever read this book back in the day, you would have loved Grunge.
Yeah, I really think so.
There is Sarah Rainmaker.
Is her power to make rain?
She's like Storm.
Tell me she's not Native American.
Oh, she is.
Oh, god damn it!
Of course.
She's also bi.
Oh.
There's Burnout, Robert Lane. He's the Human Torch. And there's John Lynch, who's like Professor X. And John Lynch was a member of Team 7. He has psychic powers. The other part of the Team 7 power thing is that anyone who had psychic power, anyone from Team 7, if they use their powers, it caused them debilitating pain.
Oh.
And it also caused them to maybe lose control of their powers and kill everybody. So they didn't really use their powers.
Right.
And that's why Team 7 was kind of written off. It's why they were they kill themselves, but really, did we want them in the first place?
Right, it's kind of better this way.
So John Lynch is I just don't use my powers. And occasionally he does, and it's and that's the team.
Okay.
And
who's the bad guy?
the bad guy of Gen 13 is,
At least in this particular.
and this is the company.
Okay.
The company's the bad guy, and it never got better than this. The series went on, and they introduced new bad guys, but the bad guys were always stupid and irrelevant.
These people don't have enemies. They have a company that
that wants them to work
wants to
for
control them.
Yeah. And
that's it.
At the end of this story, the company still is around, and so they basically go on the run.
Okay.
And so Lynch takes the kids in and then hides them.
All right. So the kids go on the run. Does the company then hire super villains to go after them?
Yes. Eventually, the company creates their own. They get the rest of the kids from Team 7.
Wait, the rest of the kids?
There are
The
other
ones who aren't in Gen 13.
the ones who weren't in Gen 13, the ones who were in
Because there's only
Gen...
5 of these.
Yeah, but there were
others.
others.
There were others. There had
And
to
so
have
they
been
get
more.
them. And those guys were DV8. Do not ask me what it stands for. I do not know.
You
So we
mean
got
deviate?
7, 8, 12, 13.
Yep.
All numbers so far.
All numbers in this series. DV8 are and thankfully they're not if Fairchild is super strong, the other one like can take strength. No, it's not like that. They all just have their own set of powers that they made up for that team. The other thing was DV8, like, everyone in it was a sociopath. Such a joyless, miserable book. It was like reading DC today. It was just horrible. I really don't. I'm ragging on DC, but DC is so fucking miserable today. Like, no one's happy. Everyone's pissed. And I say that as a segue because Gen 13, okay? Gen 13 spawns off from Image to become Wildstorm, and DC Comics bought them. And so Wildstorm was folded into the DC universe. So, like, they tried to reboot it by giving it to, I think, Gail Simone, who was a female comics writer. They gave the rebooted Gen 13, who's now part of DC Comics, to her to write it, and it was trash, and no one gave a shit. And even the Nostalgia Factor couldn't support it because it had a new continuity, a totally new origin. All the shit I'm telling you now was wiped clean and thrown away, and then they redid it for DC. And then they ended that, and they threw that away, and then they rebooted it for the New 52, and Grifter is in the New 52, and I think Voodoo is in the New 52. And that's all we've really seen. I think Fairchild is in it, too.
I was going to say,
I hope she's like the main one.
She's the main one, and like, I actually kind of thought it was cool that Fairchild was the leader of the team.
Yeah.
Then you have this female leader of the team, and her character, I mean, like, this may be a justification for enjoying a comic with boobs in it, but the character of Fairchild is this, like, really reluctant teenager who, like, who's really insecure about herself. And, like, because, like, she was insecure about her body, but now she has a body that, like, I guess you could say is ideal by a certain subset of the culture, and that doesn't help her. It just makes her more insecure and more uncomfortable, because now she's getting attention, but it's for something that she could never imagine. And so and making her the teen leader is kind of interesting, because she's like, I have no confidence in myself. How am I going to lead this team of teenagers to do anything? But, like, look at this. This is just wish fulfillment. It's like, I want to draw mech suits. So here they are.
Yep.
There's a funny moment where, like, the mech opens, and, like, this chick is using it, but there's this torso man who's also operating it.
Oh my god.
So it takes two people.
Yeah, but one of them has to have their midsection chopped off. Like,
right, in order for it to work.
Look, he has no fucking, he's got no body.
He's got no legs.
Oh, unless that's
No, I think that's just a background. He's standing in the back.
It took me 20 years.
I never noticed his legs, though.
No, they're probably just behind this thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, it would really suck.
As a kid,
you would be stuck in that suit the rest of your life.
I really thought he was just like an amputee guy, and they were like, you know what, we'll give you
it's really unclear.
It is really unclear from his art.
I will say, there are a lot of wires going to him, and it looks like he would be stuck in the suit.
Yeah, it looks like he's just like, well, if I can't go to the bathroom or fuck, I guess I'll just be in this cool robot for the rest of my life.
It's also a really awkward spot to hold her in the suit.
Oh, yeah. Well, that might be like...
It's like a giant claw right
maybe it does
legs.
gynecological exams while she's in there. I mean, you don't know how long they're in there.
Maybe there are a couple.
Like,
maybe,
you know... a harness that, like, supports you.
It's true. If you go...
Maybe she can turn around inside the suit.
Oh, my God.
And he can flip upside down.
Right. They can robot fuck. Like, but you'll notice, like, zip lines and shit. Like, they have a real junk holder. Yeah. So, I mean, you know... Yeah. They never show us these again, so they're called the Black Razors, by the way.
The suit is?
The team of mech guys.
And they're just in these, like, couple panels in this one book.
That's right.
That's retarded. Well, what is the explanation for where they come from or what they're doing here?
John Lynch leads the Black Razors.
John Lynch.
Yep.
Who works for the company.
Yes.
Leads the Black Razors.
And was on Team 7, and now leads Gen 13.
But the Black Razors are not part of
No, they have nothing to do with
company.
Anything. They're like a government team.
So how does he run the Black Razors if they're not part of the company? What is it
they
just
don't
like?
Have any relation to him at all.
On his off hours,
just
he's just
decided...
like, well, I gotta go to my other job.
Yeah, he's like Wolverine. He's on like 8 different teams.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this about Image in general.
Okay.
What, if anything, besides a handful of characters, survived from the Image era? And more importantly, did their main goal of getting control of their own characters go anywhere?
Okay. Image as a company is still like the 3rd largest publisher.
Oh, wow.
But they went from being like, let's do what Marvel does and DC does and have like a shared universe with all these characters, and went more into the realm of creators first. So they were like, let's stick to our mission statement of creators' rights. You know, if you create something, you own it and it's yours. But you shouldn't have to sell your creation to have a comic book. And so that's what Image does. Image is like a haven for independent creators.
Okay.
Image kind of paved the way for the whole comic book industry to be aware of creators' rights and respecting creators' ownership.
Right. Okay.
So their mission statement, I think, was a huge success. I think that Image matured and outgrew the creators entirely.
Right.
Some of these things still exist. I mean, like...
But they are still... They didn't take over. They are still
Oh, no.
third.
Yes. Image never took over. Image was a flash in the pan as far as, like, longevity and popularity.
So what people mostly still want is those characters from the
60s.
From the 60s.
Yeah.
Who aren't owned by anybody except the executives.
That's
of
right.
Marvel and DC.
Yeah, people... Yeah, go fig. Everyone still just wants to read about Batman.
Yeah.
And that's evidenced by every episode of Sal Says What I've ever made, because every Batman episode hits 50 views on the first day, and every other episode hits 15 views the first day, and then kind of just stays there.
So we're not going to get any viewers on this episode.
No, we should have probably talked about Nightfall.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if we wanted people to fucking
well,
read
it wasn't here, so...
No.
Volume 2 was
Volume 2 is here, and it's still like this fucking thick.
Yeah.
Nightfall. One day we'll do
You can still tag it, and...
That's
We said the word
we
Nightfall.
said it. Nightfall.
We just
Nightfall.
changed the name of the show to, like, Bat Show.
That's not misleading at
Yeah.
all.
The Batman show.
Bat Issues.
Yeah, Bat Issues, yes. This would be Bat Issues, Gen 13 edition.
So, actually, I can tangentially link it to Batman.
Oh, yeah?
They were gonna do a crossover with Gen 13 and Batman.
What?
And J. Scott Campbell, who is a prolific cover artist today, he used to draw every issue of Gen 13, and he fucking knocked it out of the park. Like, he is really fucking
After
tight.
this. With
No.
He did this. Like, this
is good.
Like
But,
this,
well, he
did.
drew something in here, but he didn't do the whole thing. 'cause
He
there's
did a
3
lot
other
of it. He did most of it. But
I see.
he was, and he also helped create Gen 13. Like, that's kind of his baby.
Okay.
But he drew a lot of the ongoing series. And he kind of moved on into, like, a lot of, like, cover art. Like, most of the great recent Spider-Man covers that are alternates, like, he did. He does a lot of cool stuff that I'll show you later. But, like, I'll throw some up right now. You can see some of the samplings of J. Scott Campbell's awesome art of today. But the...
That's not enough time. You gotta give it, like, vamp.
No, I'm going to cut. I don't play music.
Oh.
Yeah. Or he'll start it earlier.
Exactly, and then I'll talk over
it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the power to do anything.
Yeah. You're not gonna pause and then have silence
Yeah.
for that, and then...
I figured we could vamp.
Yeah. Moment of silence.
Kind of like, vamp. Like,
I don't know what that means.
It's
like
an
turning into
acting...
vampires?
No. Not vamp out.
Oh, there's actually a term for turning into a vampire?
I imagine it's vamp out. I'm gonna vamp out.
Or
You never heard of vamp out? Anyway, vamping is buying time. I believe it used to be vaudevillian.
Oh.
Well, could you do an example?
Yeah, vamp. Let's say that, like, we needed to kill some time.
We need to buy time.
Yeah, it's vamping.
Oh, okay.
Like entertaining the audience when the next set isn't ready to come on. Like, hey, here's a quick joke.
Let me just do.
Yeah, that is a vaudevillian thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how we doing, Johnny?
Yeah.
Shit, I'll delay the spoons.
Well, it's like when Ashley Simpson didn't
Oh my
stop
god!
playing,
And it just went, and then
did the
ran
little
away.
dance. Yeah.
What a tool.
That was vamping. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that was vamping the fuck out of there.
Yeah, she sure did. So J. Scott Campbell actually stopped drawing Gen 13 in the ongoing series for a little while to draw the Gen 13 Batman crossover.
Well, he drew it.
Oh, he started to draw it, and then DC went, you know what, I'm thinking no.
That sounds actually pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
But not before Gen 13 crossed over with Spider-Man, the Max, I think the X-Men, Wildcats, like, they crossed over with a lot of people.
Okay.
And it was all dumb.
Now, this was
why-
Image at the time, or was it owned by DC?
why would-
Oh, it was Image. Yeah,
Why
DC
would they
didn't have
cross
anything
it
to do
over
with
with Marvel? Was Marvel just like, we got to get some of that Image, like, readers?
I guess
Yeah.
if you are suddenly the Flash in the pan,
Yeah.
They
people-
want
yeah.
some of that grease.
people team up.
Okay.
I mean, like, DC. I don't even know the story of it. I actually did a lot of research on it because I wanted to. I'm like, how much is there? Because, like, there are a lot of great, like, unproduced comic stories. Like, DC and Marvel in, like, the 80s were going to do a big Justice League, Avengers crossover, and so they got, like, then huge artist George Perez, who's still pretty, like, big now. He drew Crisis and shit. Like, but they were like, let's do Avengers meets the Justice League. So it's like Batman versus Captain America and shit. And, like, George I think Kurt Busiek wrote it, and George Perez drew it, and he drew like 12 pages of this book. And then Marvel and DC were like, nah, you know what? Fuck both of you. Like, they couldn't agree on shit. They were like, who wins?
God damn it.
And they were like, who cares? And
Wait, they hadn't decided that before they started drawing it?
I think they had decided, and then like Marvel got the script and went, looks good to me. And they went to DC, and DC's like, this script does not look good to me. And so like George Perez drew like, and then they're like, hey, it's over, stop. He's like, well, but I drew all these pages.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sorry.
Well, you might as well burn them.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Never seen the light of day.
Yeah, but he did not burn them, and people had been talking about him for like 25 years. They were like, oh, this is awesome. And like pages now, because of the internet, they're out. And they really were kind of cool. Eventually, Marvel and DC did get their act together, and they did do a JLA Avengers crossover. And it was super cool, kind of. It was really dense. It was like 4 issues, but like...
I imagine a lot happened.
Because there's so many friggin' characters.
That's the thing, is that you have all these characters, but you also have, like, you want to do quiet moments, too. And George Perez is really detailed, and he draws, like, very small, tight panels. So, and with all that color and all those little details, it was, like, you're just, like, freaking out.
Was there a lot of text?
Nah, I mean, like, it was a fair amount.
But I would think that, like, there's so much shit that these people have to say to each other.
Oh, yeah, and it didn't overshadow it, though. Like, and the premise is awesome, but... Yeah, but it just gets more. It just gets like the first issue you're like, oh shit. The second issue you're like, cool, and then the third issue you're like, whoa, and then the fourth issue is just like everything, because the Avengers is like a rotating roster. Everyone's been an Avenger. So, and when they were writing Avengers JLA, oh, every Avenger is going to be in this book.
From ever.
You mean 600 characters are going to be in this book? Yes. So. I read it in college. I had nightmares from this book because I was like, I had one nightmare. I woke up my nightmare was I went to a comic book store. I picked up a book. I opened it up and it was JLA Avengers, and it was just like all these little panels with a million characters and and everything was going to happen.
It was basically Where's Waldo of comics.
Yeah, and I'm like, ugh, and every comic was JLA Avengers, and I'm like, ugh. And,
oh my god.
It was horrible.
How great would it be if it was all different stories?
Yeah, it was all different stories. It was like, oh, Pandora's going to be different. And it just looked like that. I've since read it again, and it's really, really cool. And especially if you love old comics. Like, it's so fun. And it's like so unapologetic about how cool it is. I feel like I really didn't give the credit that Gen 13 needed. Like, I feel like I really didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the book and the characters. But yeah. I think that's actually kind of fitting for the book, because it's so superficial and so stupid that really, like, anything else would have been more interesting to talk about than Gen 13.
And indeed it was.
I mean, like, yeah, I think we have an episode out of this, and we barely scratch the surface of Gen 13, which is really as deep as it probably gets.
The beauty of that book is skin deep. It's the art. It's not the text.
No.
It's not the interaction between the characters.
It's maybe the dialogue in Chapter 2.
I did want to mention one thing from the book. There's a great line in here, which as soon as I read it, just was like a flashback.
Yeah, you saw this line, you went, I've never seen anyone say that in 20 years.
Yeah, literally. Where is it?
It should be right. It should be right here.
Right here. This is a chick.
This is
a boobalicious chick on a weight machine of some kind.
It's working out. It's probably a Bowflex.
It looks kind of like a Bowflex, yeah. And she says, you know, Daddy would have been so proud. Not. And yeah, literally have not heard anyone say that. This is like...
You know what's funny? She says it again.
Dates it.
She says it again later. But there's another page...
That puts it within like a 4 or 5 year time span.
Yep.
That it just could not exist.
No. I'm sure that if a teenager were reading this then, they would have been like, how fucking stupid. Like, they wouldn't have been like, they talk like me!
Yeah, no.
There is a line in this book that I absolutely adore. And it's when he gets shot. It's when Grunge gets shot. And...
Oh, yeah, he was talking about the pain.
No, he absorbs the bullets through his chest because he can absorb the properties of what he touches.
Okay.
There he is.
Here we go.
A bullet.
And he says, I just spit the bullets out and they're still warm. Gnarly! And then Roxy says, Grunge, baby, that's just so Mondo rad. And I love that look on her face because she's like, whoa! Like, her mind is blown, and the only thing she can think of to say is, like, 4 fucking 90s things. Baby, Mondo, rad. And using so to accentuate what?
So Mondo rad.
So Mondo
Not
rad.
just Mondo rad.
The funny thing is, Bliss also says not. She does the not thing again.
Again. It's like her catchphrase.
Yeah.
Not.
This book's great! Not!
I also love that they have to say, oh my god, instead of
Oh my God.
oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Do you think that these security guards are drawn like this because there's no, like, easily discernible villains in this book? Like, I just don't see them.
No,
but I do see these guys. So if I was just thumbing through, it'd be like, oh, they're the bad guys.
That's
Because
probably
they're red and they
exactly
look
right.
Like evil.
I think it's.
If they were just dudes, I'd be like, I don't understand. Where's the supervillains in here? Because there's none.
Yeah, no, I think they're drawn like that. I think it's part of the Doom generation. I think it's like, they look like Space
They look
Marines.
like Space Marines, yeah.
I know that they refer, like, the characters sarcastically call them stormtroopers. So I think there's a Star Wars influence there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for Gen 13.
It sure does, which we barely talked about. Let's, really quick, Ben here has seen the Gen 13 animated movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that, real quick?
Don't. Just don't.
I can attest to that. I bought it on eBay during my, like, when eBay was, like, kind of new.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college, and I'm like, ooh, I can just buy all kinds of shit. And I bought that because I read Gen 13. I'm like, ooh, I wonder how that movie came out. Because the movie was made and it was actually bought by Disney. And, like, Disney was like, what the fuck is this? And then they fucking shelved it. They were like, don't release this. And then they released it in Europe, and then somebody fucking taped it off TV and made it into a DVD. And,
Now, I wonder who I got the DVD from of Gen 13.
well, that would be me. I bought it, and then I watched it, and I went, nah. And then I lent it to you.
Yeah. I'd be like,
Oh, that was not lending.
You have to
You
check
gave
out
that
this
to me.
Well,
because then I said, this is awful. I tried to hand it back to you. You said, you can keep
Yeah,
it.
I was hang on to it.
No, it's yours.
Yeah, well, that's yours. You have it. You
No, I don't have
That's
that
how she owns it.
It's like The Ring. Like, you fucking watched it.
So thanks for infecting me with that.
You should have said it was great, so then you could give it to me. And
Right?
I'd take it.
You'd
I'd
be
be
like,
like, oh,
hey.
yeah, I'll watch that.
You know, we really didn't
Fucked
really
up.
talk about Gen 13 too much in the episode. You should watch this movie. It'll get you really into
We'd
it.
be like, I know we trashed the book, but the movie is actually not bad.
And you would have watched the whole thing waiting for it to get good. You were like, when does it get good?
What the hell was he talking about? And then the last 30 seconds.
Yep.
And by the way, the
No?
animation in the movie, it's nothing compared to the comics. The comics are beautiful. The animation in the movie
They probably spent like
shit.
$3 on it.
It's really cheap. I do love the voice acting. They got E.G. Daly, who played, like, Phil and Lil from Rugrats, to play Roxy, and she fucking owns it. Like, that's something that I would cast her in today, if I were ever to think that a Gen 13 developed property would be a good idea. So anyway, that DVD, yeah, let's not fucking talk about that movie anymore.
No.
What a pile of
It's
shit.
terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Don't. You know what? You can get it on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube, and if not, you can watch it on, like, other video streaming channels.
If it's not on YouTube, sue this guy.
I want to thank everybody for watching, and of course, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and check the information down below to learn more about funnyrama.com, funny books, comics, and stuff here in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. I am Sal,
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Right there? Those are Daisy Dukes.
That is crotch.
I love this look on her face, like, oh, my clothes.
What happened? Get used to this.
You're in Gen 13. It's going to happen a lot.
Oh, that's her
Oh, yeah,
fucking
that's her.
drawing that character. Look at that outfit.
Oh, the back? Right there?
Just this whole...
Back.
Yeah, holy shit.
Baby got.
Yeah, no kidding.
basically.
Like, why did he note that? Back. This is the back.
This isn't her front. She doesn't have
This-
a front ass.
this
She
back-
has the back ass.
Like,
Don't want
it's
anyone
a
to be
normal
confused.
Ass on her back.
It's
Don't
not
worry.
she doesn't have two asses, one on
I
the
know
front,
I
one
drew
on
the back first.
Two asses. That's going to be my next character.
I was going to say this before, I didn't. This reminds me of the Calvin and Hobbes comic where he draws.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what he was looking at, isn't
Yep,
it? Like,
yep.
Some image book.
Well, it's funny because that actually came out around the same time as Image's like revival. So yeah, he probably was like
He just
"Let me
picked
grab-
up a book."
I'm gonna go to a comic book store. I'm gonna grab this. Oh, yep. I'm right. They're
Yep,
dumb.
it's bullshit.
Yep. I only needed to look at one.
Yeah, from this year.
Yeah. It's very much that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the image of like a character like and like his back, like,
being
exploding,
blown out.
and there's like shreds coming
Yeah.
out. Like there's almost an exact image
Yep.
like, of that.
And it has very
In
much.
here.
It has very Frank Miller dialogue in that comic.
Yeah.
I felt my spine shatter. It hurt a lot. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the chick's got a huge gun.
Yep. And she's got a huge rack
And
too,
she's got
but it's
huge- yeah.
but it's held behind like
Yeah.
a wetsuit
Yeah.
essentially.
Yep.